Today we're speedrunning through Bloxorz, one of the best flash puzzle games. Now we'll start the speedrun as soon as we hit skip instructions, and right away you can see what this game is all about. Basically, we're a rectangular prism and we're trying to make it into the hole in each of these levels. Now sometimes we're going to get things like these switches, like that round switch which anything can touch, and the X switch which we can only hit when we're straight up. But switches are only going to come every once in a while, and more than that, there's always going to be this weird movement you have to do. Because you're a rectangle, it's always kind of awkward to move through the map. There are other things that can trip you up, like this right here. We have these orange blocks. Now with the orange blocks, you can't stand on them if you're straight up, otherwise you're gonna fall through them and just kind of die. So we have to adjust our movement to make sure that we're never standing up on them. And then for right here, you can see there are all these switches, and they're gonna cause these platforms to either come up or go away. So we have to be careful with that, making sure that we're hitting the right switches. Sometimes there are also switches that will get rid of the platforms, so you have to be really careful about that. Just make sure everything goes well. And then in this next stage, you can really see what kind of movement you have to do to make it through the maps. Like here, we can see our goal is in a completely different spot, but we have to go into a bunch of different areas to make sure that we're in the right position because we are that rectangle. It's kind of hard to explain, but that is what makes this such a fun puzzle game. Obviously, because we're speedrunning it, we already know all the paths to take, even if sometimes I have to think about it for a second because I'm not a robot like some of the speedrunners out there. But if we take the right paths, everything is going to be fine, and we can move on to the next stage. And stage 8 is where it really starts to get interesting, because here's where it adds in this ability to turn into two different blocks, and those are going to be cubes. So that's obviously going to make movement a little bit easier, but then also at the end, before they can make it into the hole, they have to recombine. So a lot of these stages, it's important to make sure you recombine at the right spot, and then you continue from there. And what a better stage to show this off than stage 10. Now right away, we're going to split into two different cubes, and one of the cubes is going to go all the way over here to this switch. Then I'm going to position it right there so it's right by the red X. So when they recombine, right away we can press that, and then we just have to do a little bit more movement and finally make it into the hole. But on stage 11, we get rid of the two cube strategy, at least for a little bit, and in this one we need to make sure that we don't hit that switch at all. If we do, we're not going to be able to complete the level, so I have to be really careful to avoid it, but obviously I already know the path I need to take. All I got to do is make it into that hole now, which it kind of takes me a little bit because you have to reposition yourself just a tiny bit multiple times, but we finally get it done. And then this next level is the king of repositioning yourself in very tiny amounts. So like right here, we're going to go all the way down there. We're going to rotate ourselves so we can finally hit that one X. Then we go down again. We're going to take this weird path all the way over here so we can hit the other X. And then finally, we have to make it back out. So I'm going to take another really weird path just to make sure I'm in the perfect area to go right in the hole. Honestly, I think this speedrun is super satisfying to do because when you're doing it fast, you know everything you have to do. You just have to do it right. Now that is a little easier said than done, especially because it's hard to remember every single thing I'm going to need to do. But if you just make sure you position yourself in the right ways, you're able to do it. We're able to get through those orange blocks and make it to stage 14. And stage 14 is probably one of my favorite stages just because of all the different strategies you have to use. Now obviously, to get through this stage, we're going to have to hit both of the X's, and we have to be really smart about how we're going to do that. Now first, I can reposition myself right there, make sure I'm always in the right stage, and there we go. Now both the X's are hit. Now all I have to do is go all the way over here, kind of be smart with how I want to move my block, and finally we can make it in the hole, and it was just so beautiful. And then on stage 15, we're finally bringing back the two little cubes thing. So we're going to have them in very different positions. First of all, we want to focus on this cube. We'll let him press that button, move the other cube, and then also press the button again so we can go back to the start. Now all that we have to do is some micro repositionings, and we can make it to the hole, so that one's not too bad at all. And stage 16 is just kind of strange because we're going to teleport a lot using the two tiny cubes. We just have to make sure we do it in the right order, which is kind of weird to memorize, but it's not too bad. Then we can hit both of the X switches and finally recombine and make it into the hole one more time. And once we make it onto stage 17, this is pretty much our first really long level that we have to complete because there's a lot of things that are going to be combined in this. First, we have to hit that one X switch and then go all the way back to make it to this other one that's in the middle right by the goal. So I have to do some positioning right here. It's kind of confusing making sure that everything goes as you like, especially because there is so little space and we really want to make sure that we don't die here. After that, we're going to go all the way back and it's time to hit that other X switch and make sure then we can just kind of make it back back. I mean, not the most complicated thing in the world, before finally making our way all the way over to the hole. And there we go. That's another one done. So the game is really starting to overload us with a lot of things we have to do, especially if you're trying to figure this out the first time. Obviously, I'm speedrunning this, so it makes sense that it's not the most difficult thing in the world, even though it is still very difficult. Just ask anybody that was in my Twitch stream while I was doing this. But at least we don't have to figure out these puzzles. We already know the solutions for each and every one of them, and we just have to execute that. Now, like I said, it is still a little bit hard just making sure I'm doing everything right, especially because one singular move could ruin the entire run. So while I was playing this game and doing this speedrun, I was like popping off with every single level, just happy that I was able to survive and get a deathless run. So that was pretty cool. I mean, I guess I kind of just spoiled getting a deathless run, but what do you expect? I was really going hard on this game, and oh yay, now we have one of the easiest levels in the game. All you have to do is go back and forth multiple times, and we do this multiple times. Like right here, I go back, I go forth, and then I kind of just go through the level before finally hitting this last switch, and all we have to do is go into the hole. It's not hard at all for this level. But stage 20, on the other hand, 100% is a confusing level, especially when you're trying to speedrun it. Now, we have a very specific path that we want to take, so I can make my way all the way over here. Just make sure that I'm doing everything right, going in the right direction before going back to this portal. All I have to do is move my blocks a couple more times. Now I have the cube, so I really don't have too much to worry about. I actually love the cube power-up because it just makes this game so much easier in my opinion. I mean, at least comparatively, because you won't die to one singular mistake. It's pretty easy to tell where a cube is going to go, but the rectangle, that can be kind of weird. Now for this next level, we have some different movements that we have to do, and there are a lot of tiny micro positions that we have to use. Like I'm going to move my cube ever so slightly just to make sure I can go into the right spot because everything is going to be so tight. Then I can hit the X switch, get another platform, and then finally make it in the hole yet again. And once we make it to stage 20, this is another level where we really don't want to hit these switches. Obviously, we want to hit the X switches, but we don't want to hit the round ones. I did just right there, but that part didn't really matter. I just want to focus on not hitting them after I hit the X switches. So I have to do a little bit more movement and make sure I can make it into that X switch as well, which I have to do that little move right there. It's not the hardest thing in the world, but for a second I was very confused, especially because I was getting extremely nervous at this point in the run. I mean, this is a good run and I really did not want to mess it up. But at least after that very stressful level, we get a kind of easy one. Now we do have to worry about these orange panels, but they aren't the hardest thing in the world when you know where to go. And we also get to split up into two tiny cubes, which you know I always really like because it makes everything so much easier. I can just go hit that switch as well, then get one of the X switches, and we're pretty much at the end of the level. All we have to do is make sure we don't die to the orange spaces and make it right in the hole just like usual. Now stage 24 is going to be a very stressful one because there is very little space to move around and we have to do a lot of micro positions. Now we have to hit all of the X switches like usual. I mean, that's not really anything new, but because there's so limited space, we have to make sure we do that in the most optimal way possible. So I can open up those doors and then finally get that last X switch, and then I have to reposition myself one more time, make sure I'm able to go in that room, and then teleport, you know, just do kind of the normal stuff before making it into the hole. And stage 25, who would have guessed it, is also one where you have to deal with a lot of these micro repositionings. So right away, I want to hit this one X switch, and I keep moving myself around just to make sure that I can go there. Finally, I'm able to do it, and I try to move my block, but then also realize I can't right there, so I have to reposition myself a little bit more. Finally, we get the right position. We can hit that switch as well, and now it's time to go back to the X because we're going to have to hit it again, so it's pretty much just the same thing. But there we go, I finally figured everything out. All we have to do is make it into the hole, which of course is more micro repositioning. I feel like you're very tired of hearing me say that, but it's kind of just what we got to do. I mean, on stage 26 at least, it's kind of the exact opposite. Instead of these small micro repositions, we're gonna do gigantic changes in our position. Now first of all, I kind of made a mistake right there, but then I realized, okay, that's where I have to go, and we go all the way across the map until we make it to the teleporter, and then we have some more cubes. So, you know, that's a pretty fun time. I actually almost died there, by the way, so thankfully I didn't. I'm able to move this other cube over there as well, and then we have both of the X's. I have to do a little bit of positioning before making it all the way back into the teleporter thing, which is going to make two separate cubes, you know, just kind of the normal stuff again. All I have to do is move that guy right there, move the other guy. I don't don't know why that's just so easy. It's just such a nice little break. In 27 is also a stage where there's a lot of different space that we need to cover. First of all, we're gonna go to the right, reposition ourselves just a little bit so we can go all the way back here and we can reposition ourselves again, which I was a little bit confused about, just trying to make sure that this run isn't going to die, because like I said earlier, this is a really good run. We haven't died a single time, and I really do not want that to happen because I was streaming this game for about 4 hours. Yeah, it kind of destroyed me, but hey, we got this run, so that's pretty cool. And then we make it on to stage 28, which is a really fun stage because you do so much for this level. Now, first of all, we have to make sure we don't die to the orange blocks, make sure we reposition ourselves, and then we go all the way over here where I kind of just do this movement. There's not too much I can say about it, but hey, it's a pretty fun time. And hey, guess what? Also, we're gonna do this movement, the exact same thing again for a little bit. And hey, guess what again? We're gonna do it. Yeah, I bet you're getting tired of this bit. But finally, we make it into the teleporter thing, so we're 2 separate cubes, and we pretty much just beat the level already. You know, pretty much anytime I get to the 2 separate cubes, I won. I mean, I would hope so. I really would not like dying on that. And at this point, we are so close to the end of the speedrun. There are only 5 stages left that we have to do. But for this one, it's going to be a bit of a stressful one. You can see by me thinking there for an entire second to make sure I do the right thing. I reposition myself, am able to hit that. Then we just have this pattern that I memorized, and if we just use that, there isn't too much of a problem. The next thing we have to do is now hit these X switches, which we just have to do a little bit more positioning, making sure that everything is working out. And I'm really thinking at this point, like, I need to make sure that all of my movements are perfect because it is very easy to kill yourself in this level if you aren't doing things right. And also, I just kind of made another mistake right there. Yeah, I gotta love rewatching your speedruns and seeing all the mistakes you make. Oh, and speaking of mistakes, I'm just now remembering this part. Yeah, I just had to move myself a little bit and everything would have been fine. But for some reason, I was just having like the worst brain fart in the world. And I was like, how am I supposed to get into this area? This is even taking way more time than I remember. Like, come on, it's really not that hard. How am I so struggling with this? Okay, yeah, I did not know that I actually lost this much time on this. How am I still struggling with it? Oh, you got, okay, there we go. Finally, you're able to do it. Now there's only a little bit more movement that I'm going to have to do to make it to the end, and it's not the worst thing in the world after that. Gosh, I just lost so much time. Anyways, hey, look, on to stage 30, and in stage 30, it is littered with these orange panels, so I have to use very specific movement to make sure this doesn't happen, and there are a lot of different places we have to go to hit all these switches. I'm gonna go all the way up into that corner to hit that switch, get some more panels that are gonna show up, then we're gonna do a little bit of movement, hit that other switch before going back on these orange panels and taking another path to just make it through. You can see I'm a little bit slower on this level than most of them because it's a bit more stressful than most of the other levels, but we're finally able to make ourselves go into a very good spot. All that we have to do is take a little bit more of a detour around these different orange panels and make sure we're able to survive nice and easy. And we're into the last 3 stages, but at least the nice thing is 31 is a very easy stage for me. I mean, this just isn't a problem at all. All it is some general movements that we've been doing throughout the entire run. So I just have to make sure I do it right and I will be fine. And at this point, when you have played so much of this game as I have, these movements become really easy. I mean, for the untrained eye, this might seem very difficult, but it's kind of just learning the patterns, being able to do them over and over again. And once you learn the patterns, this game becomes so much easier and a lot more fun. Like, I actually think this game is amazing for speedrunning because it feels so satisfying. You hear all the sound effects, which just sound so good. I've been talking too much, so you probably haven't been able to hear them. So here, just listen up. Anyways, we're on to the last 2 levels. This is going to be stage 32, and this is another very complicated one because there is a very long path that we're going to have to take. First, we go up into that corner, then we're going to have to reposition ourselves a couple of times before going back into the same corner again so we can have a better position, and we're going to make our way all the way down here where we're going to have to do this little loop-de-loop before going back up into this corner and finally hitting that switch and then going back using the exact same path so we can hit that X switch. And yeah, it's pretty much just doing the same thing over and over again. Like, literally, look, I went back to the same place again and I'm about to do it. again. Yeah, this is what this speedrun is coming to. But finally, we're in a very good spot. All I have to do is one more loop-de-loop, which I was kind of confused about there because I was very stressed out. I did not want to lose this run at all, but of course, I was able to make it through, and that's going to be another level done. Now it's time for the final stage, and this stage is going to be littered with these switches, and if we press a single one, then our entire run is going to be over. At least that's kind of how I was playing it, because I wanted a deathless speedrun, and if we press these, we pretty much just die. So I have to take the correct path. I make my way over to that X switch, which is going to open up one more platform and make it so that I can actually finish out this game. I just kind of have to use it correctly, which I was very confused about how to use it. Like, I was thinking for a whole second and I was like, how am I supposed to do this? I mean, at this point I was so stressed out, but finally I had kind of an idea and it didn't work. But there we go. There, I did it. And yeah, we made it to the end. I don't really have anything else to say. That's going to be our time, 1546. And that's going to put us at a nice and comfortable 7th place, which I'm going to take. Yeah, some people are insane at this game. All right, subscribe for more speedruns. Bye.